You think you know everything about Michael Jackson? Well, get ready, because what you're about to hear will shatter everything you thought was true. Forget the bright lights, the moonwalk, and the thunderous applause. The King of Pop's real life was more like a suspense film than a fairy tale. It was full of secrets, unbearable pressure, explosive relationships, and choices he could never explain out loud. And here's the craziest part. Even surrounded by millions, global fame, and endless luxury, Michael lived like a fugitive in his own home. Panic buttons, CIA-level disguises, mysterious packages, family fights, and even lovers with code names. This wasn't fiction. This was his actual day-to-day life. And the most frustrating part? All of it was swept under the rug while the spotlight kept the world distracted. So, if you believe you've heard the real story, just wait. Because the truth has never shined brighter than the illusion. And what you are about to hear isn't just the tale of a superstar. It's the price of being immortal. Michael wasn't just the king of pop. He was a master of disguise. Under the crushing weight of fame, he developed a near-cinematic ability to walk among people unnoticed. Wigs, fake beards, oversized glasses, even wheelchairs. Anything to throw off the paparazzi. Sometimes he walked the streets as an old man, other times as a homeless person. It wasn't about ego. It was psychological survival in a world where his image was worth millions per click. The most fascinating part? Most people probably passed right by him without ever knowing. Imagine waiting for a train or ordering coffee and standing next to a random tourist, who happens to be Michael Jackson. For him, it became a game. He found relief in not being recognized. Anonymity was his luxury. But that kind of life comes with a price. Even his own staff sometimes didn't know if they were speaking to Michael or one of his characters. That confusion wasn't limited to his team. One day, his attempt at hiding in plain sight led to chaos in a Beverly Hills grocery store. Wearing a surgical mask and a wide-brimmed hat, he looked like a customer protecting himself. Or so he thought. The moment he picked up a jar of strawberry jam, the entire store went into panic mode. Doors were locked, customers ran, and a security guard almost tackled him thinking he was a threat. What started as a quiet errand turned into a 5-minute circus. This may sound funny, but there's a deeper truth here. One misplaced symbol, like a surgical mask before they were common, can create mass hysteria when people understand the context. And if you've ever led a team or run a project, you know exactly how that feels. When communication fails, chaos takes over. Michael experienced that firsthand. And that day, as the store slowly returned to normal, a new kind of storm was about to begin. One that started right at home. Late one night, his brother Randy showed up at the gates of Michael's mansion, demanding to be let in. No warning, no call, just an unannounced visit. In a household where everything was scheduled, that was a major red flag. Security guards didn't care if your last name was Jackson. If you weren't T on the list, you didn't get through, and Randy was not on the list. Randy shouted, tried to force his way in, argued with staff. He claimed it was urgent, but Michael refused to come down. He didn't even speak to him. For Michael, the hard truth had already settled in. Sometimes, blood ties are the most dangerous. When fame and money get involved, trust becomes a rare currency. And sadly, even family members weren't exempt from suspicion. That incident pushed Michael into reinforcing his home security. He installed panic buttons all over the house, behind paintings, under floors, even inside drawers. At the push of a hidden switch, the entire property would go into lockdown and his security team would be activated. It wasn't just paranoia, it was how he stayed sane. Think about that, living in a place so beautiful on the outside, yet full of silent alarms and exit strategies. Michael wasn't preparing for a break-in. He was protecting himself from a world that constantly tried to invade his peace. It's easy to imagine this as extreme, but if you lived in a glass house your whole life, you'd build walls too. But the alarms weren't the only strange thing inside his mansion. One by one, guards started noticing anonymous packages arriving. No sender, no markings, just sealed boxes with strict instructions. Deliver to Michael, don't open. Some held letters, others contained medication, and at least one was rumored to vibrate faintly when touched, and then disappeared the next day without a trace. Michael never explained where they came from. He trusted only a select few to handle them. For the guards, it became routine. Receive the box, log the time, deliver it, and never ask questions. It was all part of the code. And the deeper you went into his world, the more you realized how carefully orchestrated everything was. Not for control, but for survival. And survival meant more than just security measures. It meant emotional boundaries too, especially when it came to Joe Jackson, Michael's father. Joe was the architect of the Jackson Empire, but he was also the architect of Michael's trauma. As a child, Michael endured grueling rehearsals, harsh discipline, and emotional coldness. He didn't grow up with affection. He grew up with pressure. As he got older, Michael distanced himself from Joe, but Joe always found a way back in, sometimes with apologies, sometimes with demands. Publicly, Michael remained respectful, but privately, the wounds ran deep. It wasn't about resentment. It was about protecting what little inner peace he had left. Joe represented the childhood Michael never got to live, and healing from that required more than just distance. It required compassion, too. And so, in the middle of a world full of contracts, lawsuits, and flashbulbs, Michael found a different kind of therapy. He started walking the streets at night, incognito, as always, and handing out cash to the homeless. No cameras, no press releases. Just envelopes filled with money and a simple sentence. This is for you, just because. One night, a bodyguard watched as Michael sat with a homeless man for 20 minutes. They talked, laughed, cried. The man never realized who he was talking to. And when it was time to leave, Michael handed him a wad of bills folded in a napkin and whispered, "This is for both of us, for what we never had." It was in those moments that his humanity broke through the myth. But even the most generous souls get lonely. Michael had relationships, many of them, but always in secret. He gave his lovers code names like Winter Flower or August Moon. He kept burner phones just for them. He rented private homes under aliases. To him, love was sacred, but it was also a vulnerability. In his world, even affection had to be hidden. He was terrified of being used or exposed. Some of those relationships were long-term, others fleeting, but all were marked by caution. Trust didn't come easily. Fame teaches you that people rarely love the real you. They love the brand. And Michael was a brand bigger than any artist in history. So he built walls, created identities, and tried to protect his heart the same way he protected his home. And behind those walls, trouble was brewing, not just emotionally, but financially. Michael was spending far more than he earned. Lavish estates, custom-made furniture, extravagant art, private zoos. He wasn't shopping. He was trying to heal something deep inside. But emotional spending has a cost, and for Michael, it came in the form of mounting debt and collapsing contracts. At one point, even Neverland was close to being seized. Despite the record-breaking albums, massive tours, and merchandise empire, his financial reality was bleak. Mismanaged deals, greedy advisors, and unchecked spending had turned the king of pop into a king with empty pockets. Behind the glitter, he was sinking. But here's the most ironic part of all. Only after his death did his fortune explode. Posthumously, his brand made billions. Albums re-entered charts. Sony signed historic deals. Documentaries, reissues, tribute shows, all became global hits. The estate paid off debts, launched projects, and raked in more money than he had ever seen in life. It's cruel, isn't it? In death, he finally became free from financial chains. But he also lost the chance to enjoy any of it. His life became a lesson in how the world treats icons. Adored in death, tormented in life. And maybe, just maybe, this whole story isn't just about Michael Jackson. Maybe it's about how we treat each other, about the cost of misunderstanding and the pain of being truly seen. Now let me ask you something. How many truths have you ignored just because they didn't fit the picture you wanted to see? How many legends do we bury before they ever find peace? If this video moved something inside you, then hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notifications, because there's so much more to uncover. And if you're ready for the next part of this journey, there's another video waiting for you right now on the screen.